Hello and welcome to another episode of the Destiny Truthcast. This is episode number 48. I am Lost Souls and joined today by my co-host RedWingGirl. How are you doing today, RedWingGirl?
I'm doing okay, Souls. How are you?
I'm doing alright as well. It's not raining here for the second day in a row after 2 weeks of rain, so that's been nice. How is your weather holding up there?
Pretty sunny. It's a really nice day out today, and unfortunately I'm stuck inside because I'm trying to finish Mass Effect.
And how is Mass Effect going? I know you have been deeply delved into that game for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think I'm finishing it. I think I'm at the end, and so hopefully today I can finish it because I need to download Prey so I can start that one.
And so have you, did you save Andromeda? Is it safe for all of humanity now?
I don't know. I'll find out.
Well, we have two new forum guests with us today. We've got Dragoon4290 and Kone19ps with us today. How are you gentlemen doing this afternoon?
Doing great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm doing pretty good myself. Everything's nice and sunny again with no more rain for the last couple of days, thanks.
Yeah, Dragoon, you were here in the St. Louis area with me, so yeah, we've had a lot of flooding around here. It's been pretty bad for a lot of people, so hopefully you did not get affected by it.
No, I've been pretty dry. Most of it's been south of me, and where I work I don't have to worry about driving over any of the bridges. But I know a few people that have been affected by it, but nothing major, thankfully.
Well, if you could, why don't you let the community know just a little bit about yourself?
Well, as we stated, I'm in St. Louis. I'm just a simple carpenter, own a home, and feed my family and play Destiny.
And when you play Destiny, how do you like to play it?
I prefer to play with friends and clanmates, mostly raiding, a little bit of PvP here and there. Raiding is really about the best part of Destiny, I think.
What's your favorite raid?
Probably the funnest one to play, I think, is Crota. After that, probably Vault of Glass, then Wrath of Machine, and lastly, King's Fall.
What don't you like about King's Fall?
I prefer more of the run and gun style of the other three. I think the mechanics of King's Fall of stand here, shoot that, stand here, do this in order, it's a little more than I care for, but overall it can still be entertaining if you got the right group.
And did you play the first Crota? And do you like the changes that they made to this Crota?
Oh yeah, I played the heck out of the first one. I've actually helped a lot of people in my clan go flawless on Crota, get their flawless raider trophy. The changes they made to it, I think, are actually beneficial because it can't be cheesed as easily. It can still be done in 20, 30 minutes, but it's a little more involved, I guess, with the encounters.
Yeah, I think of now that we're running all these raids at endgame level, I would say that probably the one we have the most fun when we go do it, and I don't know if you'd agree, RedWingGirl or not, would be Crota. It just seems like out of the four, that's the one that is just the most enjoyable when we get together and run.
So I'm wondering if Souls has a Hitchcock story going on with the amount of birds that I can hear in the background. Are you being attacked, Souls?
I am. I'm waiting for someone to come have my fucking six, but I'm just the lone Souls here, hoping they don't get me.
So Dragoon, what's your favorite weapon, and what do you main?
I'm a Titan main, and recently converted to secondary Warlock, and then I don't really get to play my Hunter too much. They're a little squishy for my taste. As far as weapon loadouts, I prefer scout rifles. I have a wounded scout rifle from the Future War Cult. It's a lot like Vision of Confluence. If I'm doing PvP, then I like to run Mida.
So what subclass do you use for your Titan mostly?
For PvE, obviously I usually run Defender, and then weapons or armor, depending on the situation. For PvP, I prefer to run Striker, but lately I've been trying out with Sunstriker, using the stickies like everybody else is, apparently.
Oh no, not the stickies. Gotta get rid of the stickies. Can't have stickies. They're the ultimate evil, I've heard.
Okay, I've only just started to use the sticky, so I'm not that proficient with them just yet in PvP.
I heard you don't have to be proficient. I heard you just throw them, and they'll just, wherever there's a player on the map, they will seek them out. They'll go around corners, upstairs, between friendly players' legs, around the block 3 times, chase a dog for an hour, and then stick someone.
I wish it were that easy, but maybe it's just me.
So we also have with us today, Kone. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. From upstate New York, so I've been experiencing a little bit of the flooding, but the sun's starting to peek through now.
Has it been bad with the flooding there as well?
Pretty bad. We've had pretty much constant rain for about a week, but every so often it's been staying warm at least.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everyone that's been affected by the flooding gets through okay, because it has been terrible, and I know it's been terrible for a lot of people. And hopefully the rain is abating and people can kind of pick up the pieces and move on. So when you play Destiny, how do you like to play the game?
So I'm usually a solo player. And pretty much since I had a small group of friends in the beginning in year 1, but they kind of all fell off on me. So I started building a big friends list from the forums and LFG. And then through that now I can usually message a bunch of people for raids. But most of the time I'm either playing solo or with 1 or 2 friends.
And what is your favorite subclass that you like to play?
So my favorite is probably still Gunslinger. I've been a Gunslinger pretty much since the start of Destiny. I loved the triple jump, and the accuracy of Golden Gun was it was too much to pass up, and I loved sticking with Trip Mine, but unfortunately we lost that. But now I'm getting a lot more used to incendiary grenades and having a lot more fun with those, and it seems like with the charging abilities of the Titan a little bit more toned down now, I can usually live a lot easier without having to do Night Stalker.
Yeah, I think it's funny you mentioned the sticky grenades, because Gunslinger was my first subclass that I played, and my original main was a hunter, and that was the thing that I loved the most about that class was the stickies, and I would kill myself almost as much as I'd get a kill, stick someone in the face, and whether it be PvE or PvP, and they turn and face me and I'd blow up too. But they were just fun, and it just, when they made that change to the trip mines, it really ruined that subclass for me.
Yeah, I miss making unicorns.
So what is your weapon loadouts you like to run? Are you a meta player, or are you keep it diverse?
I'm as pretty much anti-meta as you can get. For most of year 2, I've ran fusion rifles. Sidearms, I think I barely have over 300 kills, maybe still in the 200s. But I'll always have a preference for the precision weapons in my primaries, so I really favor the hand cannons and scouts. But for oddly, I really prefer the really high impact. So Chaos Dogma. I was running Judith D for most of year 2 from the inaccuracy issues, so I've actually stayed mostly with Ill Will and Lingering Song, despite Palindrome being the usual go-to.
I like the Lingering Song. It just has a really cool way that it fires and sounds, and the way it handles. I really like that hand cannon. I have a couple of them that I really like. I use.
Yeah, I like most of the Iron Banner weapons. They have that real solid, clunky feel, but not so erratic like the Hawkeyes can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I am as far from a hand cannon user as it gets, but the kills that I have gotten, it's with the Lingering Song. It's the one hand cannon that if I do equip it, it just feels right. There's something about that gun that's just really smooth. Just got a nice feel. And like you said, RedWingGirl, you talk about just the sound. It's something unique, pretty cool.
So speaking of Iron Banner guns, Iron Banner's coming next week, or it's coming up Tuesday, I think, and it's going to be Mayhem. What's everyone's thoughts on that? Dragoon, what do you think?
Personally, I don't like Mayhem. It can be, for me, it can be frustrating and annoying to be killed by a super, especially a panic super. But then to multiply that times the entire game. It just doesn't sound fun to me. I prefer to be Control or even Clash or Skirmish or something. I think it might be even better, but I'm just one person, so if everybody's having fun, then let's keep doing it.
And what's your take, Kone?
So I'd got a lot of practice in with Mayhem Rumble a little while ago when it was the weekly, and I started getting a real good appreciation for it because there's a lot more diversity, at least in my games, by subclass. So, and I think that that's been the problem in 6v6s between my good games of Mayhem and my bad games of Mayhem, is the classes really do balance themselves out, but if you end up in a match that's just all Stormcallers or half gunslingers, it can get really, really annoying. But I think some of the most interesting games I've seen are when the Defender Titans and the Nova Bombs, when you have all that diversity going through, a lot of the supers tend to cancel each other out, especially when you have tether and suppression nades getting thrown around as well. So I'm pretty excited for it.
But wouldn't that go also to kind of what you just said about, if you have 6 people on the other team running a Stormcaller, it's just the nature of the beast. If that's all you see yourself dying to, you're going to be like, man, fuck that class, and it's whatever, and which I think is kind of to go to trials and that aspect of it briefly, where you see a lot of people running the same loadouts for whatever reason. I think, like you said, that overall there is the balance, but I just think that when people see a lot of people congregating to one thing, it makes it seem like it's an issue when it's not really.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a little bit more diversity, but all I can really do is encourage that on the forums, because there's just using a lot of different things I find to be a lot of fun. I really like the diversity in the game. So I honestly, when I start seeing an oversaturation, I become the fun police and either throw on Night Stalker or Defender. And I've noticed a lot of people end up changing classes depending on that. And I don't know, I've been able to force changes in some games, but sometimes the meta's a little hard to break.
And RWG, what are your thoughts on Mayhem finally being the Iron Banner? Are you excited for it?
I think I am going to be a buzzkill, and I'm going to run Suppressor, Defender, Titan, and I'm just going to wreak havoc with everyone's fun. That's my plan. I'm gonna have an invective, and I'm just gonna sit in my bubble, and I'm gonna put my helmet on, and I'm just gonna piss as many people off as I possibly can, and just throw grenades, and just max out my discipline, and just have fun with it.
I think that's an amazing idea. So I can't wait to see that. What about you, Dragoon? What are you planning on running if you run it?
I might stick with Striker. That's what I'm best with. Although playing as Defender and chucking suppressions, like RedWingGirl said, that does sound pretty fun. Just have a little dance party in my bubble and daring people to come in so I can nail them with a shotgun.
And I'm guessing, Kone, that you're going to be Golden Gun for days.
Definitely for my first choice, but I tend to do all three. I'm looking forward to setting the world on fire with solar nades as a warlock.
Well, normally I'm all about setting the world on fire with the solar grenades and watching it all burn. And sometimes it's a little much, and my teammates can't see through all the flames, RWG. But I think...
well, because he does shit like, we're at Atheon, we got the bubble up, we're all standing in the bubble shooting Atheon, and here comes Souls throwing grenades that all land in the bubble and nobody can see. So that's
Wait, is that on Souls throwing the grenades, or is that someone putting the bubble too far forward?
Nope, that's just you and your aim problems, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, come on.
At least it's not a rocket in the bubble.
Yeah, see? It could have been a rocket in the bubble. What about that?
What? That happens too.
Okay, so...
we do Sleeper.
Yeah, we do Sleeper. I have occasionally thrown a solar grenade in the bubble once or twice. I will admit that. But this Mayhem Iron Banner, I will be part of the problem, and I will be running the fusion grenades, and I will be not firing a weapon, and I'll just be rounding every corner and chucking grenades and sticking people in their face. And then they can go on the forums and they can bitch about it all they want, because it's not going to change. So I'm going to have fun throwing them, and they're going to have not fun getting stuck.
So that leads me to another topic, which is the meta, which, you know, if you're familiar with the forums, people have been complaining about this meta in sidearms for a while now, and, you know, I don't know if they have any intention on switching it up, but I kind of tend to agree that, you know, they have to just treat all of the special equally, because it's just kind of forcing, you know, people to just fall on sidearms instead of just going to green ammo or whatever and getting the ammo for whichever type of weapon you want to use. But, you know, it's a pain in the ass to do that. I don't know why they just don't let you keep some ammunition in the clip when you die, but they just won't do it.
Yeah, personally, I've been okay with the meta. I've been talking to a few other users on the forum, and actually comparing videos and stuff, and I've actually seen a pretty major difference between our overall experiences. And I'm wondering if there's, depending on your stats, if there's a difference with the SBMM. It seems, at least from my experience, once you get a little bit below the 1.00 KD mark, you tend to get a lot more people using diversity and trying out new things. And I'm not sure if that's low skill or if they're like me, where they just never used the meta, which definitely helps boost your stats. But I've always thought that each different game mode needs to be balanced differently, especially 3v3, 6v6, and elimination. And I've generally been for loss of special on death, but I have a little bit of wiggle room. I wouldn't mind a little bit left in the clip, as long as it's not just constant availability all the time again.
I think that's interesting, and you were telling us a little bit about that before we started recording. And I guess you've been comparing with Lord Kilron and also with Orpheus. And you also were saying that you're seeing, in your comparisons, different loadouts kind of by system as well, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's the legacy of more competitiveness on Xbox or the lower population, but there definitely seems to be a lot more adherence to the meta on Xbox as opposed to PS4. But then the overall stats, talking with Kelly, really kind of show the same trend on both. So I'm thinking there's also a skill-based difference that causes a lot, especially going up in the higher stats, where you're pretty much forced to use the meta just to keep competing with your skill level.
But the question is, though, are you forced to, or is it just that, you know, the quote-unquote whatever non-skilled players, 1.0 KDs and 0.9 or whatever, that area, just, they don't really care. They're just trying to have fun, and the quote-unquote skilled players, they feel like they have to, you know, use X weapon to win, you know, rather than use what they want and win with their own skill and not adhere to, you know, a weapon. It's just kind of backwards to me.
Yeah, definitely have more skilled. If you're skilled, you can make anything work, definitely. But yeah, like that's pretty, but I'm pretty much that player. I play for fun. I don't really use the meta, and my stats pretty much show that I never cared about winning.
I'm going to just say that it's probably the population differences between who owns an Xbox and who owns a PlayStation.
In my opinion, I think when it comes to lesser skilled players, I think they tend to use more what they're comfortable with. You know, if you are used to using a scout rifle, you know, and then you try to switch to the meta, which is a palindrome or a wormwood, and you have a couple of games you're not doing well with it, you're going to abandon it and go back to using your scouts. So they stick to what they're comfortable with, because that's where they can stay in their comfortable zone.
I think, to what you were saying, you know, I think it's a good topic you brought up, RedWingGirl, because it's funny for all the changes that Bungie do and the rotating metas, and oh my god, the fucking people calling for change before this meta was released.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, I don't know who asks for, like, who are the majority of the people that asks for the kinds of meta changes. If it's people who generally play shooter games and have a kind of a long history with that kind of gameplay, is that unique for certain populations between the two consoles, or is it, just, I can't really put my finger on it, but I do know that a lot of competition, a lot of competitive players tend to be more on Xbox. With Destiny, it's different. A lot of the people that do a lot of the streaming and play on, or, that are very good players and are popular, play on PlayStation. Now, I don't know if that's because all the exclusives are on PlayStation and not on Xbox, or, whatever it is, but, a lot of the changes have come from that group. We saw a lot of streamers calling for changes, and then naturally what follows are the people that listen to their analysis and their complaints, and then they sort of pile on and come onto the forums and sort of repeat that stuff, and some of it may be worth discussing, but some of it I think is just totally unwarranted. But it is what it is, and now we're left with this sidearm meta, and Bungie's always been notorious for following the numbers, and I think the numbers weren't there for sidearms. People were using sidearms more or less than any other weapon, and I think Bungie wanted to force the players to just start to use sidearms, and hopefully that changes.
Well, I think it's just interesting that, as adamant as everyone was that they were sick of the meta and they wanted to change, and I don't know about you, Dragoon, or you, Kone, but what you've seen on the forums, it seems to me that people are more pissed off by this meta than they were by the previous one. And I mean, all you see on the forums now is sidearms, special ammo, trials, and fusion grenade complaints. I mean, that's it. I mean, you can go to the forums every day and that's going to be 90% of what you see, and people are just absolutely livid at this meta that probably is not going to change. So one, just your thoughts on what you see there, and two, the response to that I see a lot of people getting is, well, we're at this meta because when you put up this post saying Bungie should remove sticky grenades from the game, it's each one of those things that's destroyed something else, that's led to something else being a problem. And so, everyone that's pissed about the fusion grenades are OP now, well, it's because you got special ammo nerfed, and you got, all these other changes that have pushed shit down the road to where this is what people use to get their fastest kill they can get. So just thoughts on that.
So when I've been debating with people, because I'm usually on the liking special ammo going away when you die from my experience with Halo, I found that the big difference is not so much what's killing them now, even though a lot of the hate is directed towards specifically stickies, icebreakers, sidearms. It's so much more the lack of options, where not only do people feel like they can't use whatever special weapon they want because of the ammo limitation, they also, if they do get that special ammo, they have to use it right away. They can't save it. They can't wait for a more opportune moment. They feel like they got the special ammo, so they got to use it. And I think that's the biggest issue, especially like why people are now saying that they want to go back to the Matador era, is because you did have the option to kind of test all these different counters that you wanted to do. So people end up really focusing on hating that one weapon in particular. Well, now I think it's kind of a combination of how much they see of something kill them, and that they really feel like their options to test combating it are really limited. But I don't think Bungie's really focusing on the forums as much. I think it's always been a combination, and especially usage. They've always said that they back up whatever they're going to do, they need to wait for the data to come through, and that's why we end up with 6-month metas in the beginning of Destiny's life cycle, because they wanted to really see the data back up any changes, but then they had other problems, such as the blanket nerfs.
Yeah, and I think with kind of backing up what Kone said, most people find themselves routinely without special ammo, or they're trying to find it. As long as you don't have it, you don't have a lot of counters. You can't counter a lot of what people do, especially given how fast they can move and close in on you. Someone's rushing in on you, I don't have shotgun ammo. Really, what can I do? My primary's too weak to take him out before he gets to me or gets in range to throw the sticky, so I'm kind of done for.
Well, two things I get out of that. One, the whole usage thing with Bungie and balancing to usage, which again I think has been a huge problem since this game started, in that, you know, they're not balancing and changing things because something is actually legitimately uncounterable or unstoppable. You know, I know it's drastically affected how I play the game, and like I said, people are just pissed, and I don't think that all these changes, I don't think they're making anything better. I don't think they're bringing players back and making it more enjoyable. I've actually seen posts, and someone was saying, you know, just for the end of Destiny, you know, the last month or two, just revert all the weapons back to vanilla. I wouldn't go to vanilla, although, you know, hell with it. You could do vanilla, but I would love to see them revert it to 1.1.1 and just minus the auto rifle nerf. And I think that it would be a vastly better experience than what we have now.
Well, I just think it's just a different play style. People are used to only using their special weapons and getting, as you know, rushing people and getting those shotgun kills, and, you know, trying to take over entire teams with, you know, fast time to kill weapons, and that's not how you can play the game anymore, really. I mean, you can do that with sidearms, kind of, but, you know, for the way that I play now, I play a lot differently. I just hold back and watch these people try to kill each other, and I just pick them both off. I mean, from a distance, you can just, I think you can improve your not improve it, but just make changes in how you play. But it's not the way everybody likes to play, and I think that's kind of the problem when you've kind of put people in a corner now where there's only a certain way, you know, Destiny or Bungie wants you to play, and I think at the root of that's a problem. But at the same time, you know, I don't really use my special that much anymore. Primarily because I don't really like to use sidearms that much, and I used to always use fusions. But the green ammo boxes spawn so much. I mean, I just empty out green ammo just so that the enemy can't get it. It's like I don't even use it, and it's always there. So it's just, you know, it's just a different way to play, I guess. And I'm hoping that in D2, you know, they find a different solution, because I think it's just going to be a problem if we go into D2 and it's going to be sort of the same thing where you're going to have just sidearms. That's going to be terrible.
Yeah, I agree a lot with you. I constantly have special and forget to use it half the time, and unless I have my vacancy or 77 wizard, then I just like seeing Guardians evaporate. But yeah, like I'm almost never out. Maybe a life or two I'll go without seeing a green box there, so I don't even really feel the pressure to have to use it. But there have definitely been times where I've come up against someone and I'm like, oh crap, if I had a shotgun right now, this would have been a completely different encounter.
Let me ask you this real quick, Kone. So you're a 77 wizard user?
Vacancy and 77 wizard are my go-tos now. The range on those really surprises people if you've mastered pre-charging it a little bit.
I have to ask you why you're not using the Darkblade Spite.
Probably a lack of skeleton keys. I've slowly been getting a good stockpile to try and get them, but I typically don't run the Nightfall very often. So I've had a low stock to choose from.
Yeah, it has a terrible drop rate. RedWingGirl knows it, that I've been trying to get one with a god roll for ever and ever, and all I ever get is the helm out of there. But I do have two of them, and it's 77 Wizard, but it's got an extra round in the magazine, so it definitely trumps it.
Yeah, I've got the rangefinder Cascade combo, so if I don't get all those bolts to kill, I can usually throw a throwing knife, and it all kind of multiplies for the next one.
Have you tried out, I'll ask you this, were you ever a Thiessen user?
I have the original, I think it was the first or second week, the Hot Swap Thesian, which I've used for a while, but slowly it wasn't quite hitting the distances I wanted, so then I moved up the impact class.
Okay, yeah, because I like the Thiessen better than the Vacancy. And then the other one, I'll ask you if you've tried, is the, I'm going to blank on the name, from Vault of Glass.
Oh, Praetorian's Foil. I haven't gotten to use it, but I have my year one, which I loved to use back then.
Yeah, I've only used it briefly. It was about a week and a half ago. I went into a couple matches, and I was just shocked. To me, it felt like using almost that 1.1.1 fusion rifle again. The only thing that just sucked was the lack of ammo that I had. But when I did have ammo, I was enjoying it.
And to kind of go back really quick, how you said, RedWingGirl, how you like to sit back and pick people off. I've actually had the exact opposite experience. Well, I still kind of do that, but a lot of people say that they're camping a lot more, staying back a lot more with this meta. And because I'm not so worried about constant shotguns or lanes full of sniper rifles, I'm actually a lot more aggressive with my playstyle in this meta now, because I feel like I can get those have the time to get those fusion rifle kills without 3 shock matadors converging on me at once.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely two ways that you can do it. I mean, I am also an aggressive player, but I've learned with, the Parthian shot that I can just sit back and two-shot people, and they're busy trying to sidearm each other to death, and it's just easy kills, I think, for me.
Yeah, definitely. There's a way big overuse of the sidearm rush, I'm noticing. And that's why I feel like a lot of the meta is people's choices, because you can choose to sidearm rush all day, and if everyone on the team is doing that, that's going to be the only encounter you see. But at least for me, when Special went away, the biggest thing I noticed was playing on lots of different areas of the map, because it wasn't always that close range meta and that long sniper range meta. And I feel like even though we have a limited selection of special weapons, where engagements actually happened got a lot more diverse.
Well, recently I started to play with the Last Word. It's like the only gun that I never really liked. And I was a hand cannon user, but I just didn't like. I just thought it was too all over the place. But I've been able to sort of understand how to use the gun now for whatever purpose. And that for me is sort of like my rush, kind of gun and rush loadout. I'll just put that on with a fusion, and it's like unstoppable.
Yeah, I tend to go for the high impact rush. So a lot of I used to do the Last Word throwing knife combo, but lately I've been moving more towards using my lingering song and the high impact scouts. The Covalence Duty has actually a lot of stickiness, and I've been finding I can get that melee one shot pretty often, and Chaos Dogma especially as well, but it kicks like a mule if you get hit.
Chaos Dogma is the most accurate scout in the game.
Oh yeah, I definitely get shots I don't deserve with it, but I think Mita's the king of that for me.
Have you gotten have you been into Wrath and tried for the Adept version of it?
I did get to try it twice, but didn't have the luck for it. I did get a tier 12 Crota helmet though, so I think I used up all my luck on that.
So Dragoon, how are you faring on getting armor for your characters in the raids so far?
I've had one good run. I did Vault of Glass the other day, and I got I already had the helmet from the first time it was around, but then I got the chest and legs. Aside from that, I've got the helmet for my Warlock from Crota, and the class items from Crota. That's it.
Well, my new favorite thing is the helmet that you get from Oryx for the Warlock. That thing is so cool, and it looks completely bizarre with all of the shaders. It's insane. I love it.
Even though you won't wear it with the best shader in the game.
It has nothing to do with it. It just looks different with every shader. It just is completely crazy how the shader affects that helmet. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
There's definitely a few items like that that they've, even a lot of them, especially the class items, have gone through cycles of changing and not changing. And I remember, I think it's Helma Saint 14, I tend to wear Imogen's Fire, and it gives it this nice black texture on it that doesn't really seem, the Titan especially, doesn't seem to have very much of the white that comes with Imogen's Fire, so it's a really cool black and red shader for me.
Yeah. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's really cool looking. Well, I haven't gotten any of the, well, I shouldn't say that. I finally got the Crota shader, but I haven't been able to get any of the other shaders. Have you guys had any luck on those?
None of the shaders at all. I've had better luck on the armor, but only one tier 12 piece. I actually got most of the Warlock set, but it's almost all in the red and yellow. Almost nothing from Vault armor, though.
Yeah, I have a full set for my Titan for all the raids, and not a lot of pieces for my Hunter for some reason, and I'm sort of 50-50 on parts for my Warlock. What about you, Dragoon? Do you have any full sets yet?
I don't have any full sets yet from the 390s. I haven't been fortunate enough with the drops. I haven't gotten to play with my Lucky Star as much as I'd like to, because our schedules haven't lined up, but we'll get there sooner or later. But I got plenty of weapons, though. Just waiting on the armor, which really helps out for the raids.
Have either of you gotten the Vex yet?
A few clanmates and a couple of friends have gotten it, but I haven't heard of anybody getting any of the Sparrows or the Ghosts, really, from the new Crota and Log. And really, the shaders are really rare to drop, too. I've only known a couple of people that have them. Mostly the Wildfire from Wrath of the Machine?
Yeah, I haven't seen any shaders or Sparrows. I saw one ship drop, but it was the old ship, and for Crota. But for the most part, yeah, almost all weapons. I've only played Vault twice. A couple of my friends got Vex. I got 2 epilogues.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one in all our raids that we've run that's gotten a Sparrow so far.
I've gotten both Ghosts. Both of the Ghosts from Vault of Glass and Crota are pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen you equip your Vault one yet. The Crota one was badass. That one I've gotten too. That one's really cool with the galaxy looking inside of it. I want to ask you, Dragoon, one of the changes that had been asked for, since probably week 1 Destiny came out, well, probably week 2 when it didn't change, was the vendor stock to rotate. And it's something that all of a sudden, in the last update, they changed it to where the vendor weapons finally rotate every week. Just how has that affected your play at all? Have you taken advantage of it? What impact do you think it's had on the game?
I think it's a really good thing. I've actually said that a few times when it came up over the years. It just never seemed right that it should be, every month or every 6 months you get the same weapons. Having a weekly stock adds a little more excitement. When you log in every Tuesday, besides just, what's the nightfall, what's the raid, it gives you a little something more to work for, something to spend your marks on. And once in a while you can find a really good gun instead of just one god roll hung jury for 6 months.
And hasn't it kind of been brought it back to, and this was kind of always the argument was, as excited as people used to get for Xur until, you'd gone through a cycle and everyone had everything, that it kind of, with the vendor stock rotating, kind of brings that back on a weekly basis, but with all the vendors.
Yeah, it really makes it exciting, especially, whether you're a hand cannon user, a scout user, fusion, it gives you something to look forward to. And it can kind of take some of the pressure off of you. If you're grinding for a specific weapon, with a specific, 2 perks or 3 perks, maybe what you're looking for pops up this week, maybe it doesn't. But it gives you an extra avenue to find better weapons than what you may have, or, whatever you're looking for.
I used to be pretty hesitant about it. But then when it finally happened, I realized I just never expected Bungie to actually hand us marks like they do now, which I thought was the perfect combination. And I'm actually really excited each week. That's one of the few things I really still keep up with in Destiny on Tuesday nights and Tuesday mornings is, okay, what vendor roles should I be on the lookout for to save my marks for and not spend them willy-nilly. But I was really worried that they wouldn't give us enough marks to really take advantage of it, and you'd end up missing a lot of stuff each week. But they gave us plenty, so I can usually pick at least 1, 2, sometimes 3 weapons if I get a good week of play in that I can grab if I feel like it.
And have either of you found like a real gem, something that has become a go-to for you with the rotating stock?
I'm having a real hard time putting down my wounded scout rifle, but there has been some nice rocket launchers out there. I know there was one last week I picked up. It's supposed to do some really good DPS. I just can't put down my scout rifle. It just feels too good, but it's got the exact sight that I like and the exact perks I like. So I don't know if it gets much better than that for me.
I've been earning a lot through packages. So most of my what I would consider god rolls for each archetype I have covered. But there were definitely a few. I picked up that Waltz a couple weeks back. The Warpath rocket launcher was a really, really good one. And then there was one of the event horizons I grabbed to round out having a high impact for all 3 elements.
And what about you, RWG? I know we got the Unto Dust that we used in Wrath of the Machine a couple weeks back. Has there been anything else that you found from a vendor?
To be perfectly honest, I have so many guns that I have not even tried, that I haven't even thought about it. If someone mentions, oh, there's, a really good gun, I might go look at it, but I have a lot of really good guns with a lot of great rolls. And because I've been so focused on the raids, I really haven't done any PvP. And really, for me, that's where I usually use all the guns the most. I don't generally switch up my guns too much when I'm doing raids because I know it works, and I depend on those because there's no time to be screwing around with too many guns. But so no, I haven't really been too hopped up on the vendor thing, but it's a great thing. I mean, it's finally, we have other things to look forward to. My thing that I usually go to the first is I usually go to the mountain, I can't remember the name of it now, to see what kind of ornaments are in rotation, because I'm constantly trying to correct the armor that drops for me, which is primarily strength. So I'm constantly trying to balance that with more intellect or more discipline.
Oh, yeah, the
so
artifacts.
That's been my focus.
The artifacts at the Fellwinter's Peak.
Yeah, Fellwinter's Peak. I just cannot get a decent, tier set that I'm happy with. Everything has got strength on it that drops for me, and I'm so tired of strength that I don't know. It's disappointing.
Well, the real kicker is that, even when you do get that God roll, intellect, discipline artifact from What's Her Bucket, when you click on it, it gives you strength instead of discipline. So
yeah, they're broken. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, this game is bound and determined to give you nothing but strength. It's incredible every drop you get.
Actually, I've got a memory of Yolder that has that. It's got discipline and strength, but you put on strength, it's all strength, no discipline.
Yeah, that'd be actually the exact opposite problem. I kept going intellect, discipline for everything, and then Crota came back, And it's like, oh crap, I don't have strength anymore to actually use the sword well anymore. But I'm still working on, I think I've got 4 more. Yeah, let's see. Radagast, Yolder, Scory, and Timur. I still need much better rolls on. They're all in the red right now, in the low 80s.
So I want to go quickly back to kind of what you were just talking about, RedWingGirl with the weapons a minute ago, and to the rocket launchers. You know, we use that Unto Dust on Wrath, but I'll tell you, a couple weapons have really shocked me that have been brought back, and one of them was the Hazen Vengeance, the rocket launcher from Vault of Glass, which is absolutely my favorite rocket launcher since the original Gjallarhorn, and they nerfed it into the ground and ruined it. It's just really fun, and I just love that rocket launcher. And also the scout rifle from Oryx, and if someone could give me the name, because I'm going to blank on the name of that.
Isn't that Doom of Chelkus?
Yes, the Doom. That, when I got that, and I had got it when we ran it originally, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I think I tried it once, and the stability looked terrible, so I didn't really use it. But oh my god, that has to be the greatest feeling and sounding weapon in the game. And then the last one for me would be the Vision of Confluence, which to me has been the one that shocked me the most, because I never had that, the original one. Just want to ask each of you, is there something that hasn't dropped for you that you're hoping to get, and what's been something that has dropped for you that you've been kind of surprised by how much you like it?
Well, Chaos Dogma definitely surprised the crap out of me when I first got it a little while ago. And I've been even using that in Rumble and pretty much every game mode for the scout rifle bounty from the Quartermaster. And I love it in PvP, and it works great in PvE as well, especially with the triple tap. So I was actually really surprised how much I liked that. It definitely brought me right back into using high impact scouts again. So I'm hoping to get the Arc exotic version of it soon. But for what I most want to get that I haven't gotten, is probably going to be the Vision of Confluence again, because I love the full auto scouts, and I used to use that all the time in Prison of Elders.
Wow, I'm surprising you haven't got either version, the Legendary or the Adept, to drop, huh?
I got the Legendary to drop, but when I have a few other full auto scouts, the Suros Dis, I can't remember if it's the 47 or the 41, but it's just it's pretty much identical, so without the element, I tend to stray to that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just love those year one style. It's got it's the OES or the OAS sight on it, which are my two favorite in the game on it. I just love the Vision. What about you, Dragoon?
I felt lost for most of Taken King, because I had the Vision of Confluence for pretty much all of Vanilla and D1 and House of Wolves, and it just felt so good to me. But then, of course, when Taken King came around, I tried using the Hung Jury, and that it just didn't feel right to me. So I used a variety of scouts. But then when Rise of Iron dropped, and I got my first rank up package, and I got my Wounded, it's the exact same archetype, and it had pretty much the exact same perks, even with the full R, the third eye, the Zen Moment, even Field Scout. And it had the Midas sight on it, which is my favorite. So I felt whole again. It just felt right, and I haven't been able to put it down since.
Yeah, and again, it's just something which kind of was why I would love to see re-rolling be a thing again in D2. Just increase the cost, make it the 150 marks or whatever the cost of purchasing a weapon. But it just makes such a huge difference when you can get that weapon you want set up how you want it. And I know everyone will say, well, everyone's going to roll the same meta gun, but I if they do, they do. But the people that aren't meta, it allows us to set up our guns how we want to counter that meta.
And PvP isn't the entire game. There's a lot of perks that we'd rather have for use in PvE. Whether you're running the raid, whether you're doing patrol or using a scout, there's different perks you'd like to have based on your preferences.
Wait. Destiny has a PvE component?
Yeah, believe it or not, I know it's shocking to hear, but yeah, there's a small PvE component. Nothing too big, but it's there. If you look for it, you can find it.
Yeah, I think it's like 800,000 players a week are playing PvE and 400,000 a week PvP, but we're balancing all these weapons and making all these changes off of that PvP population and of one game mode of it. So
I'm hoping they separate the code a little bit more in D2, because they've admitted one of the big drawbacks in why they have especially in the beginning, they had such blanketing nerfs, was it was so compressed for last gen that one small change would change the coding pathway for all these different things at once. So I really hope that they can fine-tune and tweak things, but even then I'm a little bit worried that they, especially with those harder difficulties, how they are worried about power creep, because they've always been able to just add against minions of darkness buffs, and very rarely do they do that, except for the shotgun buff that they just recently got, I think. But they used to have that for pulses and even for shotguns before, and they took it away.
And I want to go to you real quickly, RedWingGirl. Is there any weapon that you're still chasing, and has there been one? Because I know you've used all these from year one, because you've always been a raider. And by the way, I want to say real quickly, because I didn't on last week's episode, I want to say congratulations, because when we were running last week, RedWingGirl hit her 400th raid.
Yeah, I have a feeling that there's a lot more.
A lot more raiding to be done.
Well, you don't always finish a raid. You might go in and help somebody do something. So it's surprising that I've done that many, but I feel like there's probably been more raiding than just the 400. But it doesn't keep count of that.
Yeah, I'm sure that you've done more, but the official stats, you hit 400, and I thought that was pretty freaking cool. Like I was shocked when you were when I looked and you were at 398, and we ran 2 Kings Falls, and I was there when you ran that 400th, and I just thought that was really cool. So just want to say congratulations on that. And but yeah, is there something that you've been surprised that maybe you didn't try before out of these raids that you've gotten, and you're like, oh wow, now that you've gotten this new version of it, you're like, oh, that weapon's actually pretty good and you like it? And is there something that you're still chasing?
Well, it's kind of funny because when Vault of Glass and Crota were popular, I did use Vision of Confluence, but only in Vault of Glass, and because I don't use scout rifles. So, I'm just not a big scout rifle user, but the biggest gun or the biggest surprise for me is the Outbreak Prime, and using that in Taken King is the funnest I've had with any gun that I gotten from a raid. I didn't even use the gun after I got it, after we went and got all the codes and did the whole, the quest to get it and everything else. I barely ever used the gun, but since the Taken King has come out, it's so much more fun using that than the Malice, that I've been enjoying that. But at the same time, what I'm looking forward to doing is using the Malice in Wrath of the Machine, because I hear that is the gun that's going to take down Axis super quickly. So I'm going to try to use that instead of the Dark Drinker and the grenade launchers. I'm going to see how that works.
Kone or Dragoon, do either of you have the Outbreak? And do you use it at all if you do?
I have yet to get it. I'm still, I think I'm on step 2 with a couple of my characters. I just need to grab a few people at some point and knock out the public events. I got all the Nightfalls done, I think.
Yeah, I got it not long after it was available I only got on one character, but then you can go to the kiosk and get as many as you want. I haven't been really using pulses much, although I've recently gotten, for PvP, sometimes I'll use my B29 party favor. But as far as pulses, it doesn't quite feel right to me.
Well, it's funny because it's the weirdest thing. It's this Wrath of the Machine weapon that just isn't the best weapon to use in Wrath of the Machine, because as RedWingGirl, it just seems like whenever someone uses that gun in there, it causes a lot of the enemies' heads to pop where they shoot the red Siva garbage at you. So it gets to be annoying more than anything when people use it. But for whatever reason in Kingsfall, it's like that gun was just made for that raid. And every encounter, it just seems like it's just the best thing to use in there. It's and we call it the fun gun is what we call it when we run that raid now.
Well, yeah, it takes down the ogres quickly, so you don't have to, worry about dying from the malice and bubbles and all that other crap. You just use outbreak primes, and you can kill everything else. The only thing that we have found with it is that the Siva kind of moves the
knights
enemies around. Yeah, like they fling them off the map and all kinds of crazy stuff. That's why we call it the fun gun, because it does a lot of weird stuff to the enemies.
I might have to try that out next time I get a chance to run Kingsfall. Sounds like it might be interesting.
It's really fun, and like literally every encounter in there, it's just from the beginning to end. I mean, even on the bosses, like when you have to, on the War Priest, you run out of either your sniper or whatever if you're using the Spartan laser on him, and you switch to it. It just does so much damage. But you get on Oryx, and those knights are up on the plates. You shoot them at the feet with it, and just watch it. They'll just dive off the map and suicide rather than deal with the Siva. It's pretty hilarious.
How does it handle it at Daughters when you're trying to shoot them?
That's the only one that we don't use it on. But if you're in the shade and you're shooting Oryx, when he goes up, all of that Siva chases him. So you can just shoot the gun in general, and all the Siva just goes after him, and you take him down really, really quick when you're in the shade. It's just something that you wouldn't expect. The gun just goes after those enemies faster than, it used to be normally when you were just shooting them with a regular gun or whatever you were using at the time. So it's just kind of fun to watch all this Siva all over the place, like in The Taken King, because it doesn't, it just doesn't make any sense. I noticed I was getting like 4,500 crit damage with the Outbreak Prime on the Sisters. And when I use my Malice, I get like 9,000, so it doesn't do as much damage. So I only use the Malice for the Sisters, but for everything else, I use the Prime.
Yeah, you'd probably run out of ammo real quick, too, at Daughters, though, wouldn't you? With the Outbreak Prime?
No, I've not run out of ammo for that, with that weapon.
Yeah, but I wonder what the numbers actually are, because that doesn't account for whatever additional damage the Siva does. But I've been using, because I dismantled after Kingsfall didn't level up. I dismantled my Malice. I haven't got one back out. I've been using the Chaos Dogma on the Sisters, which is as long as you land your shots, it's the Malice without killing yourself.
Yeah, I lucked out and saved mine, so I've got one working Malice, and I tend to keep using that and Sleeper Simulant.
So I want to ask everyone's opinion on something real quickly, and we don't have to get in depth on it, but something that again has been coming up has been trials and whether or not it should or should not be in D2. There's been there's been 1,000 posts on it, and there's been another poll that was put up this week, and Cosmo weighed in on that. Just real quick, do you think that it should or shouldn't be in D2? And if it is, do you think, are you happy with what it is? Or if it goes forward, would you like to see changes made to it?
With Trials, I think, being endgame PvP, I think there should be something like that in the game for players that are hardcore with PvP, or that's all they play. I just think there's better ways to do it, and it offers some kind of exclusivity for those players. Like, hey, I got something, I can do something you can't do, or I got a piece of gear you can't get. I just think there's better ways to go about it where lesser players don't feel like they're getting shit on.
Yeah, I haven't been for Trials in a long time. Year 1 was really dependent on population, so in Year 2 I think the card system of matching helped mediate that a little bit, but it's still, as the population goes down and down, it gets really, really, really hard for a casual player like me to really progress in it at all. And if I play Trials, it's usually early morning, especially Fridays if I can, because after 5 p.m. it's almost impossible for me and my typical friends to be able to get past a round. So I think there needs to be more incentive. The bounties alone aren't enough incentive to go up against that kind of skill gap for the casual player and not just be fodder. So I like that they have the bounties, but there needs to be some kind of skill tiering system. I don't think it can be too rigid, because then you kind of lock players into even worse population problems. But there needs to be some kind of hard cap if this is to go into in Destiny 2, or it needs to be rethought, because I'm kind of with most of the people on the forums that I see that I'm really sick of very Trials-oriented changes being made to the whole game. And that's where a lot of my hoping that 6v6, 3v3, and elimination specifically are able to be balanced more separately in D2. But I don't think in its current form that it'd be very healthy for Destiny 2 at all.
And what about you, RedWingGirl?
I agree with both their points. I mean, there has to be a competitive game mode for PvP in Destiny and D2. There just has to be, but the thing about it is that I hear the people say casual players kind of get the raw end of the stick because, they can't compete, but that's kind of the point, It's sort of, it's for people that are very skilled, and that's where they, can compete against each other, and it really isn't a game mode for casual. If you want casual, there's a bunch of different modes in PvP that you can play, and you hone your skills there so that you can become competitive and, maybe perhaps compete in that game mode. So I'm not so fixated on dumbing down some of the modes so that everybody can play, but I do think that you shouldn't be matched so much win for win. I think there should be a little bit of skill based in there, just so that it's the games are a little bit more competitive, for each team going against each other. But they do have to stop doing all of these weapon changes from Trials, because it's just not. I just don't think that what they've done over the last 3 years for PvP has helped any of us in PvE. There's just been so many times where I look at my ammo clip, or I look at my stability on my sniper, or I just look at any kind of game that I do in PvE has been negatively affected by some cries from Trials players is annoying. So I do hope that they separate whatever changes that they do in PvP and in PvE, and if it's by each game mode, fine, I don't really care, but it just has to stop. We can't be victims, to some elite trials player for a PvP mode, and see the results in PvE. That just cannot happen. I mean, the whole scories thing is ridiculous. We're trying to build supers to be in a raid, and there are times where you can't kill something in order to activate it, and that's just dumb because of trials. I mean, that just doesn't make any damn sense. So I really do hope that they separate it out. But I do still believe that they need to have a competitive mode for PvP, definitely.
Yeah, I think not so. I think that's one of the big things that I know I've been misunderstood a lot, is that I don't want, for instance, I don't think I'm going to go flawless without significant help. It's more the round one blowouts with teams you have no chance against that are more the problem for me. And as the population goes down, those become more and more frequent. I remember about 3/4 through year 2, I was saying they need to do something about the skill gap, or they need to do something to reinvigorate the player base. And people were telling me, oh, it's nothing's changed, it's the same, just get better. And I was like, no, a few months ago when there was a good 100,000 more people playing, it was a lot easier to get past those first few rounds. But yeah, I definitely think it needs to stay competitive. It can't be where the Lighthouse has no prestige whatsoever. And I think that's one of the big things that I try and home in on, is that as a casual player, I don't expect to have an easy route to the Lighthouse. I just want to be able to win enough to feel motivated to keep playing, especially when elimination doesn't exist during that.
Well, I mean, you see that a lot of people are paying to be carried to the Lighthouse, and that's a big problem. There's a lot of people that aren't satisfied with the fact that they will never get to the Lighthouse. It's all about getting to the Lighthouse. So there has to be either, like what you say, like a larger pool of people. And I agree, in year 1, as crappy as a player I got to level 7, and that was, I don't think I could do that anymore, because it's just, there's barely anybody playing, and the lag is so terrible, and everyone that's still playing are really good, and I can't compete against those people, and I know it. But, they have to be able to at least apply some skill-based in there a little bit, so that you can, as you progress, it's actually a competition. Because if you're just in there trying to have fun with a couple of friends, you are fodder, and those people are hoping that you're stupid enough to go in there and get the shit beat out of you. But that's how it's been. It's how it's ended up. It's either you get carried through, or you just accept that you're not going to get past 1 or 2 rounds, or you're just super good. And that's too much of a variance, in my opinion, for how a game should be approached for all of the people who play Destiny.
Well, and to something you said there about the paid carries, and I'm not going to name names, but Pro Younkiniter and I were kind of had a little couple comments back and forth with a streamer over the subject of trials, and my point being, that I said it's had such a huge negative impact on the rest of the game, and this is someone that has asked for a lot of the changes that we've seen that have negatively impacted other parts of the game, and they said there's nothing wrong with trials in their opinion. And the thing with it is that you're talking about a game mode where these players are, and I understand, that they're making a living off of this, and so they want every advantage they can have to increase their skill as they play, but that's not the real world. And we're balancing a game because Joe Streamer wants this game set up so he can keep his followers watching and keep his way of life up. And again, I have nothing against streamers and the fact that players are making a living playing Destiny, streaming Destiny, and have their followers. But my problem is with it's a huge responsibility, and you have to understand when you're that popular, and you've got all those followers. It's the old adage: with great power comes great responsibility. And when you have that kind of influence, you have to think about what you say and what you ask for in this game. And is that something that you're asking for because it's something that'll selfishly help you to keep up, or is it something that is in the best interest of the game? And I don't think that that some people do that. I don't think they put out that question to themselves: is this in the best interest of the game?
But that's not their role, though. That's not their role. That's Bungie's role. It's Bungie's role to decide whether or not that's good for their players, right?
I think it falls on both. I think responsibility falls on everyone. I think that players need to be responsible too. And Bungie, 100%. I'm not saying Bungie is off the hook. Bungie have done some really, really bad things with how they've handled balancing this game. They've gotten a lot of things right with Destiny, but they have gotten a lot of things wrong. And weapon balance is something that they've continually swung and missed. And again, we've spoken so much that they need to decide with Destiny 2 what they want it to be. Do they want it to be that 1-1 white weapon balance, or do they want it to be, the rock paper scissors? And we've talked about the ecosystem that is PvP, and how every change you make in an ecosystem, it's gonna affect everything else within that system. And again, we're seeing it now with the fusion grenades because of something else in that ecosystem that was changed. So I don't want to say Bungie has no fault in this, because they 100% do. But, I understand the pressure that's there on them when there's 1,000 voices clamoring for a change, whether it be something that actually needs changed or not. So, it's difficult. We can go to the RedWingGirl, we can just go to the SBMM. Bungie switched it and went away from the SBMM to more of a CBMM, and everyone knew what the outcome of that would be. We all knew that it wasn't going to change the effects of red bars in the game, that there wouldn't be any less lag, because again, fire teams, people playing together that are grouped in fire teams in all parts of the country and world, and it's just, SBMM was just a small part of it. And this puzzle that there's all these things that go into matchmaking. But there was that outcry that was started, and it was in a stream, and it went to the forums just being blown up. And I think Bungie felt, there was such an outcry they didn't have a choice. So I don't know. It's tricky, but what do you do?
These streamers, especially the really big ones, they have a lot of influence. When you've got 20, 30,000 followers and 500 to 1,000 people watching your stream all the time, that influences a lot of people. And they, especially ones that may not know so much about the game, they hear streamers say this is OP or this should be changed. That's what they're going to think, and that's what they're going to talk about on the forums.
Yeah, I remember I used to comment on the Planet Destiny podcast a while ago, and they became aware later how much influence they had, but when I first commented, I was like, well, you guys do something on your streams, use something else. And they were like, that's basically kind of what you said, RedWingGirl, that's not their job. Some of them do realize the influence they have, and they'll actively do different things. I know Dado does a lot of challenges and stuff like that, but I remember, I think it was Holtzman, he was like, oh, well, I'm going to use Mida because that's what I need to use to compete at my skill level. And I don't know, I feel like if they consciously tried to go against the meta a little bit despite the consequences, it might help, at least, especially their followers, to be more diversified.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much them having to go against, though. I think the problem is that when you have that much influence and you're asking for something that you're dying to be nerfed. I think that's my issue with it, because again, it's a game about skill, and in particular a mode like Trials, a mode about skill and trying to be able to, your skill is better than your opponent. Well, it doesn't matter if you're outgunned. I mean, that should make the victory even sweeter if you feel you're outgunned and show how truly skilled you are. But I just think that that's where I want to kind of fall with that responsibility thing, is that when you're losing, and rather than accept any personal responsibility, of maybe you didn't play your best game, or maybe your opponent was just better than you, and to put everything on, well, he's using this crutch gun and it needs to be nerfed and this and that, that's where I have a problem with it. And I think that the players need to, again, ask themselves, what they're saying, when you have that much influence, how it's going to affect the game, and is it something that's really beneficial, or is it selfish?
I think transparency of information could do a lot. Like, I remember in Halo, we had constant, easy to find, easy to browse weapon usage stats right on Bungie.net. We had the heat maps for everything.
Yes.
And all that combined, like, I think that actually changed behavior. I know personally, if I went to a map and I was like, oh, I'm in this one area all the time, I'm going to try a different area of the map today, I would adjust and do stuff like that. And I think if we had much better tools rather than as much third party to kind of see our own stats, or even like kill cams, something that really gives us a little bit better view of what's happening in each game.
The theater mode,
besides just
what something RedWingGirl's brought up a lot, is the theater mode, and the fact that we could go and analyze our play from different angles.
Because right now all we see is the kill feed, so that's what people focus on, is what killed them, regardless of what could have followed up to it.
Yeah, I hope D2, this new engine that they're going to be using, I hope it has a lot more robust information, tools, whatever. I mean, I really hope it's going to be like a humongous difference. I mean, after, like what you said, like everything that they offered in Halo, and, I just don't know why they don't do that now. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So I hope that they can come up with something really good.
And one other thing I want to get to, and then I'm going to do the post of the week. It's just going to LFG, and hopefully there's some kind of in-game LFG in Destiny 2. But we tried for the first time Xbox's built-in LFG, RWG. And as someone that's used the 100, what were your thoughts on how that's set up and how Xbox implements that?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, it was easy to find people right away. The problem is that, with any kind of LFG, you don't really know who you're going to get, what kind of skill level you're going to get, or, the personality behind it, and so our experience with it for that one time was sort of poor. We bailed immediately. And the 100, I've just played with so many people there, and it's just a bunch of good people, good group of people from the 100, so I do like the 100 better, but the ease of use on Xbox was pretty surprising. It was pretty easy to use.
And Dragoon and Kone, what systems are you on?
I'm on PS4, so I haven't gotten to use that. I primarily use LFG.net, the one that Planet Destiny had, but I definitely noticed the huge switchover in population. The 100 blew up completely, and I've been trying to post there a few times, but more and more I've been playing solo from lack of time and just relying on old friends on my friends list. So I've strayed away from LFG a little bit, but I really hope, kind of how you guys were talking on the last podcast, that they do an in-game lobby system where the fire team can be open to matchmaking and you can rotate people in and kind of vet them like an in-game LFG, rather than just straight random matchmaking, start the game, go.
Yeah, I'm on PS4 as well, and for most of Destiny, I've had a good group of friends to run most of my activities with, but there were sometimes where I did have to use LFG, and I pretty much just stuck to the one here on the Bungie.net app. Of course, that's 50-50 as to what you're going to get. But with this new clan I'm in, it's been we got our own band app so we can communicate. So I don't really need to use LFG as much. I think it's just kind of a 50-50 experience overall.
Yeah, well, it was just really surprising to us, I think, the Xbox One, and to see, just what they've done. You go just through your menu in the party, and you can set up and say you're looking for more, and then you can browse other people's. If you've got a friend, that's on looking for a group, it'll put up in the feed that they're looking for this many for Crota or whatever. And so it's definitely something that can be done in D2. So hopefully it's something that works in. So I actually have 3 posts of the week that I want to read this week, or get to. And the first one is from Johanna May, and they posted a moment of silence for a dear friend. And this was in the Destiny forum, if anyone wants to find it, up on trending. And they said, "We have recently received word that a terrible fate has befallen a cherished member of the Wolves and Iron clan. An avid Destiny player, Noel, was always there for us. He was there the first time I ever beat Crota hard mode, yet all good things have to end. Noel died in a car accident last week, and the clan elders have decided to hold a vigil for him. All the clan will wear the Lost City shader and the Swords of Dawn emblem until the next Crota weekly featured raid, and now I ask those who can to vigil as well. Wear the shader and the emblem to help us mourn a fallen friend and wish him well with RN Jesus." From Jay of the Iron Guardian. So, thoughts go out to all the friends and family of Noel, and it's hard when you see these posts put up, but on the other side of it, it's really cool that people care and want to share what they've experienced with these players. And again, if anyone out there is listening, it's the Lost City shader and the Swords of Dawn emblem until the next Crota Weekly. And then there was actually another one this week also, and it was "Goodbye Bill, Take It Easy Brother." And this is from Hyatt Mark. And they said, "It's with a heavy heart that I tell you we lost one of our own recently. Nurang1636 was our clanmate. He had been battling cancer for some time now. He took a turn for the worse and was found unresponsive with no pulse. They brought him back in induced coma, but on April 26th he passed. His good friend, Belform, had been by his side with his family. Our thoughts and prayers are with them in this most difficult of times. I'm sure, like we have been in the past, his wife had scolded him for playing that game again, and now, like us, would give anything for him to pick up that controller one more time. Destiny has always been our place to recharge and relax before we head back to the real world of family and work. What was just a game 3 years ago quickly became a community, and then for us became a family. Some family you see more than others, but at the end of the day, if you lose a member, then you pull together for strength and support." And they did a charity stream on the 6th to kind of help out his family, and they have a YouTube tribute video that they put up. So, and again, that's Hyatt Mark. That's up on the Destiny forum on trending. Just for a moment, Null and Nurang1636. It's just kind of sad, but it's cool that they put this up, and we know these players now, and just kind of what they meant to other people for them posting.
Yeah, despite what people say about the toxicity on the forum, I've seen a lot of people come to it for support, and the community rallies, and it's really great to see when that happens, especially through all the arguing that we see. For Guardians to come together and players to just relate on a personal level, regardless around this game that we all love, it's just great to see.
And again, I just think that it's just been such a unique experience that Bungie have created with this world in Destiny. It's such a unique social experience, and it's really has brought so many people together from so many different walks of life and all over the world. And it is an amazing community, and bnet, despite the trollish nature, can be a really great place. And the other one I want to go to, and this is the second week in a row they put one up, is from Happy Jack. And I don't know if anyone saw either of his posts, but he put up a Future War Cult poster that he had done with Future War Cult fencing about a week and a half ago that was just really badass. I mean, I want it on a t-shirt like more than anything. It's the coolest thing. And this week he's got one New Monarchy FC poster, and he's got New Monarchy as a soccer club, Champions League soccer club, New Monarchy FC, with the jersey sponsored by Hockey. So it's just really badass. I don't know if any of you have seen those, but they're really cool and people should check them out.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty funny. That would make a pretty cool t-shirt.
Yeah, it's always, I saw that one too. It's always nice to see people applying something they love, like Destiny, to real-world things, like making a soccer jersey with your favorite Warlock logo on it or something like that. It's interesting to see the kind of passion come out and filter towards other areas of your life like that.
So at this point, I would like to get to everyone's favorite moments of the last week or two playing Destiny. So Dragoon, start with you.
I didn't get to play as much this week as I hoped, but I did finally get the Templar challenge done. So I'm that much closer to getting my raid page done. I had a lot of fun running through the Vault of Glass again at 390. It feels really good to be able to do that at full light again, to bring back that full challenge. And just running, shooting the shit with friends and having a good old time doing it.
Yeah, for me it's been, again, a pretty light week this week, but I got to do last week Vault, which I hadn't done the 390 version of yet. And that was a lot of fun. That's my favorite raid. But other than that, I've been mostly sticking to the PvP bounties, the new Quartermaster bounties, to try and get the old Trials weapons from Year 2 I never got. And I was able to get the Pulse and Doctrine, which haunted me all Year 2.
You finally got a Doctrine, huh?
Oh yeah, and
what have been your thoughts on it?
It's great. I like it a lot. I've been using Necrochasm, so I've gotten pretty used to it. But when I was going through, I think it was the Zernia D or the Arminius D, whichever one was the equivalent I would use to try.
The Arminius D. Yeah. Well, it's funny. That was actually like my favorite PvE primary back when RWG and I were running Taken King in its heyday every week, which is crazy. But yeah, the Doctrine was my go-to, and they probably all thought I was nuts for using it. But so RWG, what's been your favorite moment of the last week or two playing?
Well, I kind of already said it. The helmet, the Warlock helmet. I got that, and I've just been playing around with shaders, and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I really dig that armor. I don't know what it is. I just think it's so cool looking. So that was kind of my highlight, getting Crota armor. I don't really like it on the rest of the characters, but I do like it on the Warlock, so that was my highlight. I've been playing a lot of Mass Effect, so I haven't been playing too much Destiny this week, but that was a highlight for me, finally getting the stupid Crota Oryx helmet, and I actually think it's intellect and discipline.
Well, what's funny about that is that before we ran that raid, and I believe it was the same afternoon, you were just, again, ready to write off your Warlock because you were so dissatisfied with it and all your armor and all the strength and just really just not happy with your Warlock. And I think it was that night that you got that set, and it just, again, it completely changed your outlook towards it. And we had a lot of fun going through and watching you try on the different shaders for it. And again, it was intellect discipline. So
yeah, I just don't like the floofer. There's just something about the Warlock that just annoys the hell out of me. It just doesn't move right, and so it's my least played character, but I play all three of them fairly the same amount, but but if I don't like the way it looks, it just annoys me to play it. And besides the way it looks, I want to have the perks right. You know, my stats have to be right, or it just annoys me. So, and I obsess about it. It's like really consumed way too much of my time looking at all of my armor and seeing how it works together. And I don't really like armor that doesn't really match. And so it's just, I spend way too much time trying to get my armor the way I want it. And so I was pretty pleased to finally get a helmet. So what about you, Souls? What was your favorite moment?
Well, I would have to say that my favorite moment has been kind of like Dragoon, just playing with friends. And I want to give a shout out. We were running Vault of Glass the night before last, and we were there with Big Tex, Mayhem 420, Tim of Tacoma, and Puck, and we were doing the Templar. We didn't quite complete it. We were trying, getting practice in, but maybe been a little bit blitzed, but we had fun and sang a lot of Foreigner songs, and that was fun. I had no idea that Foreigner had so many amazing hits. Did you know they had all those good songs?
Yeah, it was more about listening to music and watching me fail over and over and over and over and over and over again, trying to get down the pattern for that stupid engagement.
I have a confession to make, and so it might have been because I was a little inebriated, but I found when I logged in the next day and I went to my Titan, I didn't realize when we were doing that. I have to admit I was at level 379 because I had on my my year 1 mark from when I was showing off the marks to you the day before.
Well, that doesn't have any effect on the bubble.
It had effect on the fact that I kept dying, so and not helping you out. But yeah, so but it was fun, and like I said, I mean, we weren't doing the DPS to help you out either, but despite the fact that, you know, we didn't get through it, it's just a good time with friends, and we had a lot of fun. And Foreigner, man, they have a lot of good songs.
I'm sure all the millennials have no idea who you're talking about.
I think Foreigner's one of those bands where you're like, hey, I like this song, but you don't realize it's Foreigner, and then you look back, you're like, holy crap, they do have a lot of good songs.
I know. I mean, I was on YouTube, and I went and I was like, holy shit, I play one, and then there's another one. I'm like, that's them too? Oh my god. And then this, and like, it was incredible. So, yeah, millennials, do something productive today. And while you're sitting at your computer, type in Foreigner, YouTube, and get a little culture in your life.
Dig into your dad's music library. You won't regret it.
And all their eyes all rolled at the same time.
Probably all the way into the backs of their heads. So now you can blame that on your failures in PvP and not on fusion grenades. Well, I would like to thank Dragoon and Kone both for being here today. Really appreciate you both coming on to Destiny Truthcast with us and talking a little bit about this game we all love.
Thanks for having me. Been waiting a long time to have a chance to get on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's I feel kind of honored, and especially you guys asked me to come on and join you.
And once again, Dragoon, I was not the person that cut you off the other day on the road. Just want to clarify that.
I got my eye out for you now.
RWG, it's always incredible getting to host the Destiny Truthcast with you and talk to these amazing guests from the forums. Had a lot of fun, and just glad to be here with you another week.
Most definitely. It's a lot of fun getting close to going to LA for the D2 reveal, and I'm kind of excited for that and play that game, and hopefully we'll be able to report from there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we are 9 days out, so yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. And yeah, we will be trying to represent bnet for sure, and posting up our thoughts and what we see for everyone here on the bnet forums.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap.
Well, before we go, weren't you going to do a little bit of a Foreigner number for us? I thought we had agreed on that.
No.
Just a little foreigner?
Look, the guests are asking.
I don't sing.
RedWingGirl, RedWingGirl.
Is anyone holding up a lighter right now? I'm going to get my lighter and hold it up.
It's not happening. Sorry.
All right. Well, maybe on the next episode we can all get RedWingGirl to do a little foreigner for us.
No.
Would like to thank everyone that's on the forums and listening on SoundCloud, watching on YouTube. Just once again, thank you everyone for your support of the Destiny Truthcast and participation. And if anyone would like to join us here and talk Destiny, just reach out to us and let us know, because we'd love to have you on. So I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.
See ya.
You're so hot.